Greetings and salutations, internet distance. It is I, Wolfphototech, and another one of those tabs fell off. But anyways, this is a really old copy of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It was a teaching copy, and it's in fact so old that these little bookmark tabs are actually cracked and damaged, and oftentimes, occasionally, the labels fall out of them. So there we go. This book is the Warhammer. There it goes again. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay core rulebook, produced by Games Workshop, which is actually the only edition of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay that Games Workshop specifically worked on themselves. It is product code 00020. So yeah. It's really old. It's really old for product for Games Workshop. So anyways, this is back in the day when Games Workshop was just getting its Warhammer Fantasy Battles product line off the ground and getting it going. But anyways, very nice artwork from front to back. Nice big spacing for signatures if you ever get a hold of the writers. Beautiful, as I said before, beautiful artwork with excellent detail overall. The table of contents is really in depth. Like section 1, you have everything placed out here exactly. You got each section in this book is you got section 1, player section. Section 2, Game Master. Section 3, Combat. Section 4, Magic. Section 5, Religion and Belief. Section 6, Bestiary. Section 7, Ruled Guide. Section 8, the Old Holler Contract Scenario. And then you have Appendix 1, Building of the Old World. Appendix 2, Charts and Tables. Appendix 3, Career Summary Table. And then Sample Character Sheet. Now, the reason why this book has all these little bookmarks here is because, as I said before, it was a teaching copy. If I did not say it before, just in case you know, it's like I forgot that I said it before or not. It's actually exceedingly well written out. There's typically a really nice piece of artwork either on every page or every other page. You have a very nice overall explanation on all the core mechanics, like how to win and lose, how the dice work in the game system, multiple dice and modifiers. Then at the beginning of each section, you have a little list out here of all the different stuff in each section right here. Yet again, really nice artwork overall. This section right here is player section, and it talks about characteristics, movement, weapon skill, ballistic skill, so forth. It's very much in line with the classic mechanics of the original Warhammer Fantasy Battles system. You got a character race section right here. The 4 major races, the profile, how it's written out in the system. Humans, wood elves, dwarves, and halflings. Has a little section on age right here. Everything is exceedingly well organized overall. Once you kind of skim through this whole thing, it really makes a lot of sense how they put it together. You have career classes. So you have the classic warrior skill chart, the classic ranger, rogue, academic, which is the nerd of the party, and so forth. And then you have some more charts here on the side, trappings for each character. Like the warrior is equipped with a suit of sturdy, practical clothing, including hooded cloak, boots. They carry a sling bag, backpack or sack containing a pewter tankard and a cutlery, a tinderbox, blanket. Wearers carry some sort of hand weapon, usually a sword, but players may choose an axe or a mace. If they prefer a knife, it's also carried, tucked into the belt or boot. Helmet is worn for protection. The character also has a purse containing 3d6 gold crowns, which is the coinage for the system. You got basic stuff right there, you know. If you want to just play it out more like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of experience, you have warrior basic career set chart, ranger, rogue, academic, and so forth. However, if you are not in that spectrum of people who want to play it more like more like Dungeons and Dragons, you move on from the career classes all the way over into the basic careers, and you have all these fun options right here too. There is like 150 different classes in the system. You have anything from advanced agitator, alchemist apprentice, artisan's apprentice, advanced wad, beggar, boatman, bodyguard, bounty hunter, coachman, druid, engineer, entertainer, exciseman, fisherman, footpad, gambler, gamekeeper, which is basically just a warden, grave robber, herbalist, herdsman, hunter, hypnotist, initiate, jailer, laborer, marine, mercenary, militiaman, minstrel. I'll just show you the minstrel here. Minstrel is the center one, which is basically a good example of a well-written out basic class. You have a noble, outlaw, outrider, peddler, pharmacist. You can play up a pharmacist. You a physician student, a pilot, which is just a person who rows a boat, pit fighter, prospector, protagonist. You got a protagonist. Ooh, you can be the protagonist. Racketeer, rat catcher. Ooh, you can be a rat catcher. Road warden, runner, rustler, scribe, seaman, seer, servant, smuggler, soldier, squire, student, thief, which is a expanded one. Instead of just having just like a little section like that, you have an entire page just a thief. And then you have career exits down here for the thief as well. Trapper, troll slayer, tunnel fighter, watchman, wizard's apprentice, woodsman, and so forth. And then you have the entire section on skills. On this right here, the index to the skills, there's this handy dandy table of contents just for the skills. So you can easily find, acrobatics is the first one here, and so forth. And it just can continue following it down that way. So you can actually like roll D133 and decide which way you want to go. How characters gain skills, and so forth. And I'm not joking. This is just loaded with beautiful artwork, and it's exceedingly well written, with a good bit of humor tossed throughout it. So there you go. There's a section on tests in this book here. So I got the Game Master section here. I just jumped a few pages past this through the back end of the skills. And right here, it lists out all the stuff that's covered in here. I really wish that they actually put down the page numbers on these pages, so you can, instead of going back to the front and having to like bounce that there, you know, you can easily just find it again here. So it would be like a secondary. There's like one page here that actually has color art. These tabs are just like, they're old. kind of have to re-glue those. But anyways, this covers all the different tests in the system, such as poison and effects of a poison and so forth. Diseases, recovering from poison, the different diseases in the system, which is like red pox, tomb rot, wound infection, and so forth. You got stuff on insanity, as well as gaining insanity points, as well as disorders. This is just like a huge page through. So like here, a section on alignments. Oh, there goes another one. By the way, if you were to order a copy online of this, it does not necessarily come with those page markers on the side of the book that keep falling out. That's just because this is old, and the person who put those in or did it a long time ago, and it's just coming apart on that. You have advanced career section. So if you want to give your characters even better stuff, it's in the Game Master section. So in the advanced character section, options you have are Alchemist, Artillerist, Artisan, Assassin, Charlatan, Cleric, Courtier, Counterfeiter, Demagogue, Druidic Priest, Duelist, Explorer, Fence, Forger, Freelance, Giant Slayer, Gunner, Highwayman, Judicial Champion, we should say that again, Judicial Champion, Lawyer, Mercenary Captain, Merchant, Navigator, Outlaw Chief, Physician, Racketeer, Snapper, Scholar, Scout, Sea Captain, Slaver, Spy, Targeter, a Templar, a Torturer, a Witch Hunter, and a Wizard. It's actually really nice that on pages where there's a lot of text, that they throw this generic piece of artwork every so often between spots or sections, just to break up long piles of text. Then you have the section on combat. It's really nice that they have an entire section dedicated to combat. Yet again, I have to point out that on the page just before the section, there's always going to be one of these pages that lists out everything in the book. Yet again, it would have been nice is if they did it. They put in. Oh, good. As I said before, these are really old and they're just kind of like breaking down. The little bookmarks on the side. But anyways, all the rules for combat are here. Your facing of your character, orientation of the models in combat, and so forth. You notice that there's some highlighting in here. That was done for teaching purposes back when this book was used for teaching, I do believe. You have a nice display of different armors and weapons, as well as descriptions of the characteristics of all these weapons and how they work. Different impact table, critical effects depending on where you're hit on the opponent. So if you were to hit in the arm, you have a D16 table and a D16 tables for striking various body parts when you hit critical hits. You have runes and recovery in here. You have this really nice piece of artwork right here at the beginning of section 4. Magic. And it covers all the rules for the magic system right here. As well as, you see, that's a really long list for magic. Magic is always one of those things in TTRPGs that really blows up the size of a book. In Warhammer, it is not an auto success. That's when you cast magic, by the way. It can malfunction. Yes. Magic can malfunction if you do it improperly. Just as a matter of fact. There happens to be a section in here on advancements for various classes in the magical arts, such as the alchemist and the wizard. More beautiful artwork. They did not skimp on the quality of the artwork in the book, but there is very few pages that actually are full color. Page for the demonologist, person who specializes in demons. Necromancer page. A page on clerics. Some really nice artwork demonstrating some of the spells in effect. By level. More artwork. I do say the quality is actually exceedingly good. But the only thing in this book that is not good is the tabs that were, the page markers that were added in post that are falling apart right now. Or have been falling apart, and all the labels are falling out of them. Let's skip a few pages and get to the magic items. Yet again, some really nice artwork in the magic items section. Go to the page before. You got protective rings, potions, wands, scepters, staves, all kinds of stuff. Religion and belief section. Really short and simple. That's a really small list. They should have made that a lot bigger. Every so often they do stuff like that, and I have to wonder why they did it like that and didn't bother expanding it. And I don't mean like add more items. I mean like make it bigger, blow it up. Yet again, some more really beautiful artwork throughout the entire book. Then we have the section on the bestiary. Monstrous description, special rules, flying creature rules, instability. You have various humanoid-esque opponents like the Chaos Beastmen, dwarves, humans, elves, and so forth. And rat people. Giants, gnomes, goblins, halflings, hobgoblins, and so forth. Lizard men in here as well. They make a point of really putting nice artwork throughout the entire book here and there. A lot of creatures happen to have artwork. Not every single creature does. But still, the key for all the characters on the previous page, the full page artwork, all the major historical characters, and boom. Key on who's on the other side. I'm not joking. This is just loaded with beautiful artwork and sketches. You have bats, bears, normal creatures, special creatures like giant beetles, carnivorous snapper, tigers, lions, wildcats, a chimera, doppelgangers, war dogs, dragon turtle, eagle, fenworm, golden worm, some evil creatures. Jabberwock, manticore, owl, giant, and normal sized stat blocks. Various rats, scorpions of various sizes. You have profiles in here for various animals like foxes and otters, frogs, rabbits, ravens, squirrels, stoats, various snakes. It's like rock snake, giant rattlers, vipers. Rules, explanation on psychological and physiological traits of various creatures. A sunworm, giant spiders. Some were creatures such as werewolves. Various swarms of creatures like ants, beetles, and such. Zotes, undead rules. You got an entire section that's basically just full of undead. Ethereal undead. You got demons in the book as well. Various demonic servants. Then you have a section on the world guide, as I said before, which basically goes over the major regions of the world in which you're going to start from in your little adventure, as well as the history of the world, the basic overview of that, a nice big map of the world. By the way, it is right there in the far edge of Europe. Big map. Structure of settlements, so forth. Then they also happen to have pricing on transportation and pricing on armor. So you happen to have a price for all your items, like a buckler is 2 gold. A buckler is 2 gold crowns. Leather is 6 gold crowns. Leather jacket is 17 gold crowns. Leather jerkin is 12 gold crowns, and so forth. Various prices for various other miscellaneous items. And then we go into a little section on models and movement and adventures, and so forth. And that's pretty much right there. I'm not covering anything much else other than I'm going to skip past the adventure that's included in here. You have a basic character sheet right here in the back end of the book. This is a quick example of how it's written out, and then how it's written out on the back for various characters. So you have multiple examples of how a character sheet is written, as well as some characters you can use. And then you zip all the way to the very back of the book, and you get your actual copy of your character sheet right here. That's 2 sides. And then, as I said before, right before that, you actually have various lists for spells for each magical class, and various skills that are tied to each of the advanced classes, as well as some intermediate classes in the center. In the very back of the book, like, for example, here's Thief. Overall, my personal feeling on this book is it's exceedingly well written. It is exceedingly well organized. And it's really hard to pick out various shortfalls in this book. Okay. The magical careers, there's a placeholder. Bookmark actually fell out again. And then I had to like figure out where's poisons and diseases is again. It has to be like the empty one. Yep, right there. Of course, that fell out. So I might as well just put that right there. And tuck it in the drawer and at some point glue it back in. So, this is the soft cover version, which is actually exceedingly common. The hardcover version is much harder to come by and is oftentimes quite a bit more expensive. However, I would definitely pick this book up if you could, if you're really interested in classic Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. This is like the one book you need to play the original Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, and you don't need any other books, save for the campaign for the Enemy Within, which is highly touted. So there you go. I would approximate this should be around a 4-star in my books. There's very few problems with it. Most of my problems are actually the stuff that the person who taught with this book added. Is these tabs that keep falling out. But anyways, you know what? It's actually a 4+ star because the things that I do have issue with, besides those little tabs, which is not normally a part of the book, is that on the facing page to each section, there is that list right there, and sometimes it's written really small, and they just make it a little bit bigger and put page numbers on that. That's an extra thing that you typically don't find in 99.9999% of all TTRPG books, is an extra table of contents at the beginning of each section on the page opposite to that section. So you open it up and you have that list there, and you have the first page to the section, and it's like, that would be nice if that had page numbers on it, so I don't have to go all the way back to the front to go to the table of contents, or I have to approximate where it is in the book. Look, so that would be nice to have those page numbers. However, that's also an extra thing there, and even then, without those page numbers, it doesn't take much effort to figure out what spot in which the thing you're looking for is in the book. There are numerous examples throughout the entire book of them explaining how something works. So all it takes is just a bit of reading repeatedly, and you basically understand the entire system as a player game master. And you even have various creatures in the bestiary section and a scenario. So it's like, it shouldn't be like a 4-star plus. It's like a 4.5 star or a 4.75 star. The only things that I wish there was some touches added to it are literally added touches on top of the standard that everyone else uses, just making it even better. It's making a thing that's good or really good even gooder. So really, this is like a 4.75 star actually situation. So this is an example of like games, a company that makes war games happens to go and make a fantasy role-playing game for that overlaps with their system. Instead of doing a messed up half-assed job like a lot of companies, or making it really weird or structured, they went and thought through the system, made it exceedingly good, and then when they were putting everything together, came up with numerous design innovations in of itself that made it even better. So it's not just better, it's better than most other things. And then they crammed the whole thing with tons of awesome artwork. Admittedly, it's in black and white, but black and white is cheaper than color. by quite a bit. This is one of those situations where Games Workshop did like 90% of the awesome stuff that's in most TTRPGs, crams it all in one book, and then does extra high quality design work on top of that, making sure that the system is even better than anything else. And then they produced this this system was covered for 10 years. And then somewhere in the back end of those 10 years, they handed off to Boar's Head, which is another publishing company. So they publish it for a few years before they do second edition. And then this was produced in 1988, this book, and the second edition was released in the mid-90s to compete directly with Dungeons & Dragons and 3.5. So it was an awesome system, well built. Games Workshop puts in AAA work all around. The only thing they did short was that it was not a full color book, but really that is just like icing on the cake. Excellent artwork all throughout. It put everything in one book, so they only sell a few books, because you only need one book besides the awesome adventures that are produced for it. And then, yeah, this is honestly in game design. There's people like gripe about the fact that a Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is split between 3 different books. You got the Beast, you have to buy the Monster Manual, you have to buy the game Dungeon Master's Guide, and the Player's Handbook. But if you cram that all in one book, you end up with something like a Pathfinder 2nd edition. By the way, the Pathfinder 2nd edition core rulebook does not have a bestiary in it. It's like 600 pages. You would have something ridiculously bloated of a book, so it's really hard for people to page through all that. But there is a reason why Wizards of the Coast does this weird... TSR and Wizards of the Coast does this really weird thing where they make 3 books, and then they make a series of books after that, like Xanathar's Guide and Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, that are expansion books to the core system with updated rules and more player options, is because that sells more books and it generates talk and hype. Where if you were to literally make a masterpiece like this and just produce it in all one book, you only sell this book to like a few people in a group. And even though there's probably more people, there could be a case where more people are playing this than Dungeons and Dragons. And by the way, this actually this rose to such high numbers of sales at one point that it actually overthrew Dungeons and Dragons in various editions at various points in time in sales in various parts of the world. But still run into a case where you end up selling far fewer books than TSR or Wizards of the Coast, just because you only need one book. So whenever people complain about like having to buy 20 or 30 or 40 books, that's one of the reasons why, is to keep talk going and flowing. If you produce everything in one big book, you do an amazing job at it. Everyone basically talks about the one big book, plays it, and then they homebrew all their stuff around that, and then there's no more hype or energy after that, unless you make something like a masterpiece adventure or something like that every so often. And even in that case, you only get a little spike here and there. So there's weird decisions in game design and production of books. But sometimes those things exist because it's necessary, because people do things that diminish the whole thing simply just because there isn't something new. Like, there's no big ass thing for this book beyond that. And you look up that's just driving me nuts. These things just keep falling out. It's just driving me nuts. And there's only a few of them that do that. But anyways, so thank you very much. This is like a 4.75. The artwork you could have like more color artwork throughout the book, and you could have like page numbers on those special lists at the beginning of each section. But everything else is exceedingly well designed and devised throughout the entire book. It's nice spacing all around on the paragraphs. So it's not really hard. It's not hard to keep track of where you were reading if you have a little bit of ADHD, like moi. You have very nice artwork throughout the entire thing. So, yeah. I'm like, yeah, this is a really, really, really good book. All my gripes are like, the awesome stuff could be more awesome. Like, yeah. And I basically maxed out my score. It's a 4.75. How could it be better? You make the awesome stuff more awesome. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a delightful day, a nice night, a wonderful week, and a magnificent month. And see you next time. Ciao.